Okay, first project, we're going to do a Victorian inspired swag. We're going to take 2 of these Dollar Tree pink trees. What other type of little wood hearts or paper hearts you have, a card or a printout that is Victorian inspired. And then, of course, there's a variety of beads and pearls and stickers that you can get from Dollar Tree, just to give you some options of things that I think would work for vintage Victorian inspired. And then these beautiful bundles of flowers, and these were thrifted. I got 2 bundles of these, and they match perfectly, I think, with this card. So just make sure it's coordinating. I thrifted these beautiful ribbons. Alright, so we're going to take these out of the box. All you're going to need is the 2 trees. You're going to spread those branches apart and out so that they're flat on one side. And pretty much you can make them flat on both sides. Just spread them all out to these sides. We're going to be using these branches of the trees to connect our pieces down to the swag. Now this is not the same type of swag as we did in a previous Valentine's video, so it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to make a long, almost like a teardrop shaped swag, but it's going to be long. It's going to be like, I think it ends up being like 23 inches maybe. You're just going to overlap them and then use your zip ties to go through the bottom. I like to make sure that they go around sections that have branches because it kind of keeps them from slipping back and forth. It kind of locks them in place. So I'm just going to use 2 to hold it together. 1 on each end to hold both of those middle sections together. And you clip off your extra, and then again with the fluffing out on the sides so that we have plenty on each side to hang onto whatever type of ribbons and greenery we want to put down on this. And there will be a lot on it. So whatever type of greenery you like, you can use. I have some, I think this is eucalyptus. It's faux eucalyptus and a little bit of ferns. My ferns, you ended up not even seeing those because they're flat. They don't have any dimension. They would have been better as flyaways. So you could actually skip this part if you don't want to do it. But you can see here how I'm connecting them down to the base. You just grab one branch and twist it around. That's all you have to do. And you're going to go all the way up and down this way. We want it to look kind of wider at the top and more tapered at the bottom. So you'll see as I'm going through the process exactly how I do that. I'm going to take 2 of the little picks and put up top, kind of pointing upward and out to the side a little bit. And it's going to extend past the pink of the tree underneath. That's okay. I kind of like the idea. It makes it look a little wider. It makes it look like you spend a little more time and money when you were making it. Even though we don't, because you know I use my thrifted things. And I recycle. I have used these picks in so many different things. And I just pull them out when I'm done, and I just use them again. I love it. You can really, really, really save your money when you can use the same things in your projects over and over again. So for me, yeah, budget is always something to consider. Always. I don't care how much money you have. I really think that sticking to a budget teaches you a lot of things, and self-control and such. So yeah, I guess you learn those types of lessons with crafting too, don't you? Okay, so it is going to look messy, and if you've ever watched any of my videos before, especially when it has to do with florals and wreaths, I always say that, you know, it's going to look worse before it looks better, so just don't stop, because I actually almost stopped once I got this base layer down and, you know, thought this is not going to work. I'm losing my vision here. But then it worked out. It worked out perfectly, and I'm okay. I'm okay now with it. I really like the way that it turned out. It was a big surprise, but you'll see that. I always like to show my final pieces in the end, so you will see that. Okay, so now that we've got all the greenery down, we're going to start adding these florals. And these particular picks are wrapped with like a papery type stuff, and they're in sections. So there's actually like 6 sections, but they're in 2s. You can see here. Then I just pull it down and we can separate those bundles into smaller bunches. You can trim down the wires, and then you can just kind of twist up the ends so that they stay together. Or you can use some floral wire to twist them together. whichever way you prefer to do that is okay. It was very easy to do. I love the wild look of these flowers. They just look like wildflowers to me, and they just look like, I don't know, I don't see a lot of huge florals in the Victorian things that I've seen. I see, you know, roses and things like that, but for the most part, what you see is sprays of kind of what maybe you would see in a wildflower field, you know, something like that. Kind of a variety, and they're kind of small. And I just really just took the inspiration from the card for how this would be, for how it would lay out, and what would look like it would go together. I hope that makes sense. And then, you know, a lot of it too with crafting is you just kind of go with your gut. You just kind of add here and there, and if you don't like it when you look at it, take it off, start again, right? That's all you got to do. So again, for this to be a teardrops kind of shaped swag, I like to make most of my flowers point downward, and then up toward the top, I like some of them to be facing up and outward, just like we did with the greenery. And all you have to do once you get enough down there is just kind of thread your little wires and your stems right down into what's already wrapped up underneath. It'll become kind of like a mat. It's kind of woven down there because you got so many wraps that everything locks into place, and it just stays there really, really well. And then, and I want my flowers to be laying flat. I want them to kind of be out a little bit, and I want to pull some of the greenery that is under the flowers up and through there, so that you get a little representation of all the greenery that you put under there. And you can see a little of the ferns sticking out on the sides, so maybe if you do the ferns, keep them closer to the outside or use them as flyaways. Now here is my homemade bow making tool. I do have a video on that if you are interested. It is very helpful with certain types of bows. So I'm just going to put this down, and I'm going to have, I think, about 12 inches of tails, probably longer than that, but I do trim them down. And then I'm going to have 6-inch loops on each side. And then when you have this ribbon, you can actually see the print on both sides, but one side looks faded and the other side is very crisp. So I'm just making sure that in the center I give it a little twist so that I keep the pretty part of the bow on the outside. Just like that. And I'm just laying that loop right on top of the other one to make sure that it is the same size. There are lots of ways to make bows, and you could make it smaller and smaller toward the center, but for this bow I just wanted to go ahead and do it like this and put 6 loops on the left and 6 on the right. There are people who like or prefer to have odd numbers, and that's probably the best way to do it, because I know in floral design odd numbers seem to be the way to go. But you know me, I have to have the same amount on each side. For some reason in my brain that makes me happy. So that's how I'm going to do mine. But you can do yours any way you like. And if you don't like this bow, use whatever type of bow you know how to make already, and that'll be fine too. But a simple bow like this I think would be good for the style that I'm going for. So I'm going to use a pipe cleaner and twist around the center of the bow, and then you can just start pulling the loops out. Put your hand in the middle and push those wires out, because this is wired bow. This will not give you the same effect if you use a floppy ribbon that doesn't have any wire in it. And just kind of fluff it out. And then I'll turn that one inside out because I didn't flip it in the right direction. Got to get those bows fluffed. Then I'm going to feed my chenille stem or my pipe cleaner right through there, making sure that it wraps around that center pole part of the tree. And yes, it's a struggle. I'm struggling here, but I do finally get it through there. And I'm going to pull both sides to the back, and then I will twist it around to hold it in place. Now I'm just going to make sure that before I make it really tight that I have the bow where I want it on the swag. Now it is up in the top, probably 1/3 of this. I like that position for this. I think it's going to give me room to put the card there too, so it'll work. And then I'm going to dovetail my ends. I do cut these down a little bit to make them a little bit shorter. And I'm going to make a couple of these little things that we'll be using in a little while. They're just going to be some false tails. Just going to fold it over in half and then dovetail it. Then I have a couple of little sections, and I think I made 3 of these, and just put those aside. Now we're going to work on the card. So I'm turning the card inside out and kind of pinching and pushing and weakening that bond in the middle, and then I can just tear it off or cut it off of the back piece and then trim it up on top so it looks nice and neat. If you like a frayed look though, you could certainly leave it. And there's a beautiful card up close with the little cherub and the little couple in the back. I'm going to use a piece of cardboard that I have trimmed down a little bit. I'm going to add some school glue, some Elmer's glue, and put this down on here and press it down with my hands, and then take the little squeegee and make sure that it is nice and flat and every piece of that card is sticking to that board behind it. And then I'll just trim that off. This is just going to give it a little stronger of a base, and it will give us something to attach another pipe cleaner to so we can put it down. Now I'm just using a little bit of this, it's like an alcohol ink or something. Don't usually use it, but I have a few times, and a tiny sponge brush just to go all around my edges of this card to give it a little bit of an aged look. I'll let it dry because it does take a little while. Then I'm going to take some of these little pearl beads and very carefully, with my magnifying glasses on, I'm going to put a couple of these little pearls here and there, and I'm putting in the center of the wheels and on the little card that the bird is holding up top. And then these beautiful Dollar Tree flower stickers, I'm going to put one over each of the hearts, and I guess where the headlights would be, if this was a car maybe. And press that down. I love that it's got the gold on it around the edges. It's really pretty. And then I'll add right to the center another one of those little pearl beads. It's just a little dimension, it's just a little something extra, and with Victorian, I think that that does make a difference in your projects. So I've got some of this old trim. I don't know how old it is. To me it looks like it's from the 80s, but who knows. And I'm going to, look how pretty. It's like a lace with a gold in it. I'm going to put this on the back of the card to sort of frame it out. Gives it a little something extra. Makes it look a little richer, a little fancier. And I think that it will draw a little more attention to it once we put it on this wreath, because it's going to be beneath that floral ribbon that really is an eye catcher. But I still want the card to get some attention, because that's the whole point in here. And in this video, you're going to be seeing, I guess, probably 3 different color schemes for the Victorian inspired look, and you can just decide which one you like best. If you do like the pastels and the pinks, this may be the one for you. I love that it has those pretty pinks and blues together, and the wildflowers, of course. Go all the way around the card and then trim it off where you overlap it, so that you don't see a you don't want to be seeing a gap there. And then there's the little frame around it. I know, has that grainy chic look, I guess. Put a little hot glue on the back, and then we're going to put a little piece of cardboard or a little paper, cardstock on the top of it. Let it cool, and then you know that the glue has set up. And then we're just going to feed that through there, just like we did with the bow, till we get to the back. And then do not pull it all the way down to tighten it. Just pull it enough that it's sort of floating on the bow. I am reusing these beautiful hearts that I used last year in a Valentine's Day project. As you can see, all the paper on the back. And I'm going to put some floral picks on the back so that we can put these down in here without them just falling into the frame. I don't want it falling into it and disappearing. I want it to kind of stand out toward the front. So I'll find my placement, and then I can add some hot glue and keep them in place. It's important when you have something that's got a little weight to it or heavy, that you hold it in place until the glue sets up, or when you let go, it's going to fall down and it will dry exactly that way. Okay, so now I'm going to take another little piece of floral pick, and this just happens to be colored white, and some floral wire, and I'm going to wrap it around the center of those little tails that we made earlier that I told you we would need, like, I think 3 of them, depending on how many you want. Then I'm going to add some hot glue and just push these up into the bottom. And I am looking for a tight spot in there. If you see me moving it around a few times, I'm looking for a spot where it will really lock it in and hold it in place. I decided to trim these up more. This is where I do this because I want it to, the appearance of it to be, it's kind of rounded out on the bottom, right? But still giving it that teardrop shape. I hope that makes sense to you. It does in my head, but sometimes when it comes out my lips, it just does not sound the same. All right, so now I've got those little tails there, and you can do some in the top if you would like. And then finish adding in whatever hearts you have. Now, I only had 4 hearts. I did not have 5, so I had to use the even number. And I'm just going to put a couple of bends in my ribbon. You don't have to necessarily leave them straight down. You can bend them, you can curl them, you can twist them, whatever it is that you like to do to make it perfect for you. Now we're going to make a hanger. So this exposed end up here, which is the top, I'm just folding over about 8 inches of that ribbon, and I'm going to glue it down. I'm going to start in the front and glue it into the center, and then I will flip it over and wrap the sides toward the center. And now I just put those 2 layers together so they wouldn't move around, and then do it over here on the back side. And of course, while I'm on the back side, this would be a great time for me to cut off the extras on the back so that it looks nice and neat. I'm going to take another tail without adding it to a pick and just glue it straight to the back of the card. And that really fills out the bottom of this swag and gives it a little something extra that I think makes it just really pretty and stand out. I hope you like this one. I really do like it. I feel like if you learn something, maybe you should teach something. You know, if it's something that brings you joy, and it has been definitely 100% found to bring me joy. Most definitely crafting does that for me. And also the joy that I get from sharing with other people who are like-minded, who, you know, and maybe people who didn't think the same as me, but then maybe I changed their way of seeing things. That's important too, right? The first project will be a millwork hanger. I'm going to use some chalkboard paint in black, some nickel satin finish nickel Rust-Oleum spray paint, a chippy brush, a silver ribbon, and one of them is blue, and I'm going to switch it to a velvet ribbon. And then this one is beautiful leaves. It's like leaves on a vine. Then this sparkly ribbon that is silver. 3 different sizes. Here's the millwork that I got at the thrift store. Beautiful piece, got a little damage, but that's not going to be a problem for this project. You know, these go underneath the light fixtures. So I'm going to take this outside and spray it after, of course, I have wiped it and got it nice and clean. Once it is covered with 2 coats of that nickel paint, look how beautiful this is. So pretty. I'm going to bring it inside, and I'm going to start distressing this. The idea is to take this from looking like a resin or plastic piece, or possibly plaster if that's what they were going for, and to make this more of a metal looking piece. So I am going to do that by using my black. Now I've dipped it into the black and tapped most of it off, so this is an actual dry brushing technique. I'm not just like smearing it all over. This is actually how you dry brush. So I'm going to go back and forth and up and down over all the beautiful detailed pieces so that it will get that darker color down in all of those high spots and give us some shadowing and just really make this look more of a metal piece. I work with a little bit at a time, and then I build up as I go if I choose to do it that way. If you've been here a while, you already know I start off with a light hand, and then I just layer that up until I get the look that I like. It's a lot harder to take it off once you put too much on. So I'm going to speed it up, but I don't want to take it out because I want you to see how much time it actually takes to do this if you do it correctly. It is sped up, like I said, but I'm just taking manageable small sections here and just working my way around. Now you can see the difference already. The lower right section is not distressed and the rest of it is, and you see the difference? Really takes that shine down a bit and makes this more of a metal looking piece or an iron looking piece, and I love the look of this. I am so glad. I have had this in my stash for a while, and I'm trying to work through my thrifted pieces, and what better time than Christmas to do this. Alright, so once I get the outside pretty much like I like it, I want to make this look even more kind of recessed. So I'm going in that inner curve there in that flat piece and then dragging that paint back upward over the edges, and it just makes it look like it is actually thicker than it is. Ugh, gorgeousness. As I could just see this for every season hanging on a door. Just beautiful. Or maybe even above a fireplace would be pretty. I don't know, where would you put yours? This is a stunner, y'all. I love this. I love paint. I love it so much. Alright, so I switched from the other ribbon that I had to this one because I thought the velvet would just be prettier, and I like the look of it for Victorian pieces. So I am going to layer up my ribbons rather than using 3 individual separate pieces. And I have done this before. We're going to make one beautifully embellished ribbon out of 3 different pieces. And this is how we will do it. The widest ribbon will be on the bottom, then our next ribbon, and then we will put down the last thinnest trim or ribbon piece, whatever you want to call that, with the leaves on it. It's beautiful. I did not measure this, I just kind of eyeballed it. It's probably 12-14 inches. So now the pretty side of the ribbon is upward, and I'm just going to take a little stream of glue and go right down the middle of the thickest ribbon, so the bottom ribbon, and I will try to center this one on top, press it down, and then work in small sections, because if you get it crooked, you'll probably tear your ribbon when you try to pull them apart. So just take your time with this, and if you need to use a rubber spatula or something, use that. Or you definitely could be working with your cool temperature rather than the hot glue. And then I'll widen it up a little bit on the end so that the end stays nice and flat. And already look at the difference. That looks like a beautiful, beautiful, expensive ribbon. I want to make this look a little more aged. This silver is a bit too bright for me, so why not distress the ribbon, right? This is like a raised, textured ribbon. It's not sparkly. Well, it is sparkly, but it doesn't have glitter on it, is what I'm saying. It's a strange woven texture. But I'm going to go over it just with the black, and I'm just going to use a smaller brush this time because I'm working in a smaller section and I don't want to get it on my blue. So I'm just tapping it in, kind of smearing it around on top of that ribbon. And you can see the difference from the top to the bottom as I work along here. Again, in small sections so that I can duplicate anything that I'm doing. So this looks like it was intended to be this way. I'll use lighter, and then I'll go a little bit darker as I go, building up just like we did on the millwork piece. Now I'm going to glue this one down, and since it's so thin on the vine, I'm just going to take some little sections of where the leaves are and just put a tiny dot of glue underneath, and I just adjust it as I go. The tip of this little glue gun is so narrow and so thin. It works great for these types of projects. And this Sure Bonder that I have gotten, this last one I've gotten, has been really good. I'm happy with this one. Okay, same process as before. Tapping in, tapping off, and I'm going to go over that silver a little bit as well. I don't mind if it's a little bit shinier than the one that is underneath it because it's on the top and I don't want it to blend completely in. I want to be able to see it. So now it's got that aged look that I really like. Not a perfect match, but that's not what I'm going for here. So now you can see there's about 12 inches in the front, 12 inches in the back. So I guess that's a 24-inch piece of ribbon. Okay, so this is just a curtain ring. I am going to unscrew the hook part of it, and we're going to use it for the top. I'll take some of this brushed silver, and then I'm just going to kind of give this a light brushing over this ring. I don't have a smaller brush, chippy brush, so I'm just using a regular brush here to do this. Get it all on there. I'm gonna get it on the front and the back and on the inside of the ring as well, and I just do one coat and then I will let that dry. Very easy to do. You can still see the black under, so it gives it that nice aged look that's on the millwork. Once it is dry, we are ready to use it. So I'm just going to fold the back piece over the top piece. Doesn't matter, you can do the top over the back, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to add a line of glue and then just overlap about an inch, maybe anywhere from a ½ inch to an inch on there. Press it down so it is glued down flat. And then once it's cooled, I'll turn it to the back so that you don't see where we connected it. And it's sitting behind the millwork and over that crack that was in there. Then I just decided, you know what, I've got this one little tiny piece of ribbon left. This came off of that roll from Dollar Tree, this blue velvet did. And I thought, okay, I'll just use this and we'll put one little bow right down here. Certainly skip this part if you don't like bows, but I think it gave it a little something extra, especially for the holidays. So, you know, Victorians did that anyway. They used every bit of what they had to make their homes beautiful. They used what they had. And they had a lot in those days, didn't they? They really did. This velvet is such a rich and beautiful look. I just love it with Victorian decor. And vintage decor in general. It's just very pretty. Very luxe looking. It's just such a simple little bow. We're not even going to have tails on it. And just fluff those out because they are wired. They'll stay. Then I can trim off what we don't need. And then add a little hot glue to put this right here. And look at how beautiful this is. You can hang this off of a wreath hanger on your door. You can put it above your fireplace. You can hang it off of a doorknob if you wanted to. I mean, you know, it's awesome. The first project is a Victorian wreath. We're going to start off with one of these grapevine wreaths. This is about 17 or 18 by 14, so it's oval. Then I have some of these beautiful poinsettia picks from Dollar Tree, 2 different kinds in 3 bunches. And I have 2 of these tubes of ornaments in 2 different sizes, and we have like a rose gold and a gold. These are a set of bells that I got from the thrift store. Then we have some glitter paint, some rose gold paint, and a sponge brush, a variety of old ribbons and new, whatever you have on hand. We're going to start by clipping off all of our flowers. Leave enough stem there that we can attach these down into the wreath. Now let me show you how you can make these pitiful looking flowers much more substantial. We're going to put 2 together. So we're going to pull one off, and this is me trying to discover how to get the centerpiece off. It's just easiest. I cut it, and then the little seed part just pops right out. And then we have 4 leaves here. I'm going to take the stem from another flower, feed it right through, put the stem back on, and look at that. So we're going to do the same thing with these, but these have like a little snap sort of situation going on, and it just pops off, but it stays on very securely. So I'm going to take the bees off of this one. Now we just have the 2 layers of petals. I'm going to take one more of these apart, pull the back off, leave the berries in that one, or the center, and then just push those other petals up there. Snap that little back part back on. If I was looking at what I was doing with my glasses, I could have got that first try. Put the stem back on and look at the difference. Isn't that amazing? Alright, so I knew that I wanted these bells to be a rose gold color. However, I wasn't exactly sure how the paint would do on this plastic, because these are just plastic bells. So I start off with a brush putting the paint on, and it just barely makes any coverage. I go ahead though and do all 3 of them, but then I go back in with one of these brushes and I'm just kind of pouncing in it and just offloading and just dotting it all over the bells. And y'all, the texture that this makes is beautiful. It looks like old bells, or old and rusted and aged. It looks perfect for the Victorian style, so I really hope that you try this. Now I've got some fern picks from Dollar Tree, and these are in gold. And then I'm not sure where these came from because I thrifted these, and they're just some type of a pine, I guess, since they have pine cones. We're going to take the fern picks apart, just cut them down where we have enough stem to work with, and leave these greenery pieces whole. Now for my wreath, I'm going to start on the bottom and just push this into the grapevine wreath, you know, the stem part of it. And then for a change, rather than using floral wire here, I'm going to use some zip ties to show you that you can do things many different ways, and it's just not wrong. Just however you can get these on here, you can put them on here. If you don't have a zip tie, if you don't have floral wire, you can always hot glue them, although I'm not sure how long it would last that way. Or you could use pipe cleaners, you know, whatever you want to use here. You could use some jute cord, whatever you have. It's no excuse to stop once we've gotten started, right? Right, so we're going to move along with the other two picks, and these are kind of going to go upward. I'm going to start with the higher one, and it's going to kind of go toward the top center, as you can see here. It's going to wrap around this way, and it is not going in the same direction as the bottom piece. I'm going to secure it down with a zip tie, and then I'm going to grab another one, put a little bend in its stem too, and just put it right underneath the one we just put in. It's going to leave a little gap in the middle for us to add a bow at a later time. Very easy. Zip tie, snug it down on there, and any pieces that need a little securing, go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to start adding this beautiful gold fern. I chose the greenery that I'm using here because it has sort of a bluish gray tint, and I thought it would give a really pretty contrast with all of the warm from the gold, and I think it will look nice with the pink too, that cool color. And the pink is actually, I guess it's more of a mauve type color. I'm not really sure. You could maybe call it rose gold. I mean, what do you think? You'll see when you get a closer look at those ornaments. You tell me what color you think it is, because I'm really not sure what to call it. So I'm going to move these pieces around in the greenery, just some sticking out, some on top, just kind of thread them around through each other and fluff them where they need to be fluffed. Just spread it out a little bit so it looks like it belongs there. And I'm going to continue around with this. And I decided that one more piece right here would be pretty. Just a kind of little flyaway, a little extra up there. And this is how it looks so far once we've got our greenery on. Our greenery and goldery. And now these lush poinsettias that we put together, we can start adding these. If you don't have poinsettias from the Dollar Tree, that's fine. You can get them on at Hobby Lobby right now, I think for 60% off. It's very economical. And I've heard that Walmart has some beautiful greenery picks out this year too, so you might want to check that out. We always want to keep it budget friendly on this channel, right? That's how we do it here. We want to do different things, and we want to keep it budget friendly. So I'm continuing around with the two different types of poinsettias. Looking good so far. Now I'm going to move on to these beautiful ribbons that I found. These I got from the thrift store. They have staples in them. That's really weird, so be careful with that. We're going to make a bow. I'm going to use my own little bow maker tool here. Didn't copy anybody. I'm very appreciative of the original creator of this. Mine is not exactly the same, so I'm not putting anybody out of their royalties or anything. Just making something that I can afford, right? And you know how to make a bow. You've seen me do this bow before. This is not a difficult bow. And the fabric in these bows, well, in this ribbon is wonderful. It's old, but the texture is so different than anything I've felt before. It's like a It's a stiffer, papery, yet still fabric type. I don't know. And this is like a velvety feeling ribbon, and it's got the glittery polka dots on it. So pretty. We're going to do 2 loops on each side, and they are going to be 6-inch loops with 18-inch tails. So you saw me first put the 18-inch tail out there, and then make 2 sets of loops like this. Then I'm going to pull that other tail down. Make sure we get them about the same length. Doesn't have to be perfect. Snip it off. Okay? Now leaving that bow on the bow maker, I am going to go ahead and add on my next ribbon. This one is a stunner. This ribbon is absolutely beautiful. It has poinsettias on it. It is silver and gold. And it's also that really interesting feel. It's almost, I don't know, is taffeta the right word for it? I don't know. It's really different. It is wired. Both of these are wired ribbon. So it's the same process as we did with the bow underneath. You see me just kind of fold it in half. That's how I always do my bows, so that the bulky part goes in the middle. Squeeze my wire pieces together and then feed it down there, and then cut it off. Now I'm just going to take a piece of cotton twine, and you can certainly use whatever you have here for this, because it won't show in the end. So go ahead and use a pipe cleaner or a zip tie, whatever you're more comfortable with, because we will be covering up the center. And then add a couple of knots, snip it off, get all that excess out of the way, and then you can start looking at your bow and fluffing it out. I love the combination of these 2 bows together. Now the bow on the bottom has the 6-inch loops. The bow on the top, I don't think I said, it has 5-inch loops. So it's a little bit smaller, the one in the front, but the tails are about the same length. You see how this material just stands up so, I don't know, it's wonderful. I wish that we could find Dollar Tree ribbons of this quality. So pretty. We're going to dovetail the ends, or you can cut them at a slant, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm trying to put a really steep cut there just to make it a little different. I'm going to take a thin piece of floral wire, go through my little center here where we tied it. You could always do this before you tie the center up, but I almost always forget. So this is an easy way to kind of make it look like you did it on purpose. I meant to do that. So put it down in the center of where those greenery pieces meet. And I'm just going to take the wire around the back and twist it and fold it tightly and tuck it into the wreath so it doesn't poke any fingers. This is how we're looking so far. Really like it. So now here are those ornaments, and there's that pinkish color I was talking about. I'm going to add some hot glue to hold these little tops on because they pretty much snap on, but when you're bundling these together and putting pressure on them, they have a tendency to pop off, and I don't want that to happen once I've gotten all that work done. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. Get it over with, and I'll do every one of the bundles, and we're going to do 3 bundles. This is easy. You just feed them through the wire. I'm just going to do 2 golds and a pink, and then 2 pinks and a gold, just to kind of alternate them. So 1 big, 2 small in each little bundle. Twist them together. See, this would be the part where they would pop off of those little hanger sections if you didn't have them glued on. I'm going to trim this off and then twist down to sort of make like a little more of an area that you can attach it down to the wreath. A little something else to add some glue to. Just twisting it, folding it up, twisting it again, so it almost has like a little stem, which you could feed through the wreath if you chose to do it that way. But they'll be nice and tight in there. Then you're going to add some hot glue to your wire, to the ornaments, wherever it needs to be added so that it stays in the very center of your bow. And to me, y'all, that is pretty. Those colors are so gorgeous together, don't you think? I think that the pastels and the wine colors, they're all colors that look really good in a Victorian style home or decor. And I'm just going to add 3 sets, so 1 on the top, 1 in the bow, and then 1 is going to be in the bottom. Just trying to get an idea of where I'm at. Once the bell has dried, I'm going to take this beautiful older looking gold. It's like a brushed gold, I think is what it's called. A tiny little foam brush, and I'm going to go all over the clapper, or that little round part of the bell, and the bottom of the bell. You can see me patting that on. I'm trying to do this all the way up to the edge of where the pink starts or the rose gold starts. And I'm going to go up and down all the way over until every bit of that bright shiny silver that was on there is covered up. And you just have to be patient with this because it does take 2 coats to cover it, you know, to be thick enough to really cover it. So this is what it looks like with one. Right there. And then you'll do each one of those, let them dry, and do one more coat. And then I'm going to choose my placement where I want these bells to be on this wreath. Initially, I thought I would hang them right down in the middle, but for balance sake, I think it looks better off to the side. So this is where I've decided to place it. To give it a little more support and something to attach the bells a little more securely to the wreath, I'm just using a piece of a popsicle stick that I broke off, or a craft stick, and I am going to give it like a little base there. That'll be where we put our glue. Right through the top there's a couple of holes, so I'm taking another piece of that wire, the floral wire, feeding it through there, and that's how I'm going to attach the top part of it to the wreath. You can feed it through the wreath into the back, or really the easiest, most non-frustrating way to do it is just to wrap it all the way around, twist it up, and it's so thin you're not going to be able to see it. Adding hot glue on that craft stick back there and pressing it down, and then underneath the base, if there's any areas that you can see or touching, you can go ahead and put it there too. I'm going to add another piece of fern just to cover up my little top there. And this is what we have. I've done a lot of research on vintage and Victorian, and this is my idea. This is my representation of what a Victorian wreath would look like. Do you like it? If you do, a thumbs up would be much appreciated, and it will let me know that I am on the right track. If you liked it, if you share it, that will help the channel tremendously, and I appreciate it forever. Here's the beautiful wreath with our doubled up poinsettias that we did. Okay, for the next project, we're going to do a little shabby chic or Victorian inspired piece. I've got some of these cards that I thrifted, and I love these. These are all kind of a Victorian Valentine's Day cards. They came in a little set, and I'm just looking here. I want you to be able to see them because they're so precious. And then just choosing the ones that I want to use for this project. I've also got some thrifted pieces here, metal hearts, and then I have this little plastic key that's got some little baubles hanging off. This is my vintage Victorian-like ribbon. Love this stuff. And then an envelope that's metal, and mine came from the thrift store, but it looks like it came from Dollar General, and then you can get these at Dollar Tree sometimes. I'm going to use my satin spray paint to just give it like an off-white color, and then the metal pieces are going to get a little dabble of this gold paint. And this is just to kind of give it some age and also to match a little bit better with our decor. Now I'm going to use some of my white wax from Plaid. So I love using the waxes from Plaid. I've had a lot of good luck with these. I've had a lot of beautiful projects come from this, and I'm just going to show you what you can do if you want to tone down the brassy look of a gold. You can use this white wax. Just give it a good coat. I used a stiff brush to put it on so I could get in all those little cracks around the little flower patterns and the letters. And then I'm just using a clean rag and wiping it all back down. Now it gives it just the slightest amount of dullness, which I like. And you can see the before and after. So you can choose whichever look you like best. Now I'm going to take this little key and I'm going to do the same thing here. I do end up removing the little ornaments that are on there. I kept the heart and the bow, and I saved the cat for something else. But I'm just putting this on with a brush because you have to get in those little tiny spots. So I got a different brush that's a little softer to get in all those cracks. And then I'm going to take a clean stiff brush and use it to wipe all of the wax off well, all the extra wax off, I'll put it that way, on this one. And then it gives it an age look, and it coordinates nicely with the heart, the large heart that we did. And I will be using those little pieces, but I did take them off, but I'll be using those in this project. Okay, so these are just little heart, I guess you could put them on a tree. I'm going to cut the little hangers off because we're going to make picks. Here is my dried envelope. Doesn't matter what the inside looks like because you're not going to see that in the project. I'm going to take some foam blocks, and I just like to use my metal ruler to just slice those into the size I need them. I'm going to place those down in there and then break that other half into 2 pieces and shove it down in the sides. Now we have plenty to hold it down. You could always take some hot glue if you want to hold those in place. I'm going to take a variety of flowers. Now I've chosen these 3 cards, and I'm looking at the flowers that are in these cards so that I can get the same colors and shapes in my floral arrangement. And I've got some little thrifted rosebuds that are just precious, but they don't have stems. Not a problem. I've got these little picks that I thrifted, and I'm going to make some stems. So I'm just first going to put a little hot glue. Be sure that you're protecting your hands here. Just a little hot glue like that. Let it dry. Then I'm going to take my wax floral tape, go up to the top. When you pull it, it activates the wax and will make it sticky. And then keep a little tension as you twist going down, and it will stick down. A lot of people don't understand the tape. They don't like it, but they're not using it correctly. So I'm pulling on it slightly as I'm twisting, and that's what's going to make it stay in place. Perfect. Now we have a long stem. I've got some of these beautiful fern pieces. They're thrifted, of course. And I'm just going to start putting these in. This is not going to be a symmetrical arrangement. This is going to be asymmetrical. It is going to be kind of a, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to call it a mess. It's just going to be more free-spirited, if you will, because Victorian arrangements don't really have like a really specific, you have to do the same thing on the right and left kind of pattern, you know, like we do in a lot of our arranging. So this is going to be a little bit wilder, and I love that. And I'm just going to start placing down my roses. They're my biggest flowers, are the ones that are the largest. And then I'm going to take my little daisy picks and some more of my little roses and just stick those in there. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this. There's really not a lot of balance in here so far, and that may drive some people crazy. You can just do it however you like. However you like it. But if you look at the little cards, looking at my little cards there, it's almost like somebody picked flowers and just laid them down. They are not in any particular pattern. We're going to do the same thing here. Even if you have a stem and you want to elongate it, just add your pick to it, add your hot glue, and then put the wax on there. Little wax tape. Now I'm going to add some of this beautiful blue. I've had these blue picks for a while, and this is perfect because they match almost identically to what's in one of the cards. I want to embellish the envelope with a card. You can use a glue stick or tape, or you could just tear the back off if you want. And I'm going to use little poppets. You can get things that are similar to this at Dollar Tree. They're just little foam. They raise up your projects pretty much. And they're sticky on both sides. And I'm going to use this because the front of the envelope is at a slant. So I'll be gluing the top part, and then the little riser at the bottom will help it stand out so it won't lay flush down. Now I'm going to make picks with these little hearts, and I'm just going to add some hot glue, the little pick on the back, simple. I don't have to use any tape on those. They stick nicely. Now to make these cards into picks, this is so simple. Start by putting your pick down in there as long as you need it to be. And remember, you can always cut those off. Add a little glue and then press it down. And now you have a beautiful little pick. So easy. Same with this one, only this card flips over from the top instead of from the side. Not a problem. And again, you could just use one piece, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use the whole card because it's thicker, it looks more substantial. Now I'm taking my little cherub here and putting a little glue on her, or him, whichever one. And I'm going to start placing the cards down. The rest of the arrangement of the flowers will be around these cards because I don't want to cover them up. I want them to be center stage. So I'll be looking at it and seeing what needs a little bit more and adding to it as I go. Now I want to add this back on. I didn't put wax on the back, so it should be fine. We're going to wire it, and I just made a little hook and threaded it through the flower. I'm going to kind of twist it together a little bit to make one piece and then feed it through the top where this hole is. If there's no hole in yours, you don't have to worry about this. You can just glue it down there. And I am going to help give it a little bit of balance by twisting this into a circle. It's going to help kind of hold it straight, and it looks neater. A little hot glue will keep it from slipping around and slipping through, and then I've just put a little piece of extra fabric right over the top of that to hold it down and to keep my glue from sticking anywhere. Alright, so now I'm just looking around to see what I have, pulling some things out and forward, and I realize I need something on a smaller scale. So these beautiful little blue flowers are perfect. I'm gonna stick those all over the place. I think the reason I like the Victorian type flower arranging is because it's so wild looking, and it's really like the rustic that I love. I know it sounds strange because definitely Victorian is not rustic, but there's something shabby chic about it that just really fits into the aesthetic that I like in my home. So I do have a special place in my heart for it, and that's why I like to focus Valentine's Day, you know, for a little bit more of this wild kind of stuff. I'm adding in the heart picks now, here and there. And then you could also, if you don't have cards, I got out those little paper hearts over there. You can use stuff like that, or you can use modern, you know, little Valentine cards, whatever you have for whatever style that you want. And if you don't want to do Victorian, you certainly don't have to. You can use any flowers. So from the keychain, or the little key, I had the heart, and I put the heart right on the top of that one card. I'm going to replace my hook, and you see it's gold now, and it was like a silver color before. And just using these little jewelry pieces, clamps, I'm just going to, I think the word is pliers. I'm going to put them back down. I used the bow on the little cherub's head, so now she's a girl for sure. And then I'm going to use some of this beautiful lace to put right down over the edge of this metal. I felt like it needed to be softened a bit, and I wanted the opportunity to use this without making a bow. And this is the perfect way to do it. I'm just embellishing around the opening of the envelope. What do you think? This was a very fun project for me. I love it very, very much. My beautiful Victorian envelope. My Valentine spilling over with love. My heart spilling over with love. I've got these little tags that I thrifted that say love, and they're wood. We're going to, of course, need paint brushes because you know we got to paint something. I'm going to use this beautiful champagne gold paint. This beautiful little card. I know I said beautiful too much, don't I? Beautiful little card that is part of a banner that I got from TEMU. Not sponsored, not sponsored. I'm going to choose a couple of blue ribbons that I think might work. And then I have some random, some of these are thrifted, some of these are purchased, and these are just some florals that match what's going on in that beautiful card. Okay, beautiful. I've said it 3 times, and we're not even 1 minute to the video. Yes. Lovely roses that I got from TEMU. The quality is wonderful in these. Look at that. And then this I got on clearance somewhere. I think at Joann. Yeah. And you can pull all these individual pieces out of here or cut them off. And then another one of these wreaths. Now I did one at Christmas with the same type of greenery that I changed the color up a little bit. I have several more of these left, so you will be seeing these wreaths again. Just giving you an idea of the measurements, 8 and 16. And then we've got the fluff, of course. Everything needs to be fluffed. These were stacked on top of one another and kind of mushed down. We're going to take these beautiful little, there's another one. We're going to take these love letters and we are going to paint those gold. Now I gave 3 coats of this because I wanted it to be very noticeable.
I could have stained these first, maybe done a dark brown and then did the gold over the top. But as I was building up the color, I just kind of watched to get it at the look that I wanted. So 3 coats was enough for me. And you could still see the wood grain a bit underneath, but that's pretty, and I love rustic, so it works for me. We're going to do all those and let them dry. And while they're drying, we're going to address the little card here. And I've got a scrap piece of paper underneath. This is cardstock, and then another piece of, I think this came from a paper pack, the blue with the words on it underneath. Don't even know what the words say, but I like the color and I think it matches well. So I'll use my double stick tape. You can use whatever adhesive you would like to put this card down on top of the sort of an old gold colored cardstock. But it really matches well with the aged look. So I think this was a good choice. Of course, use whatever you like. If you don't have a banner from TEMU, what can you do? Well, you can go get a card that you like at Dollar Tree or at another store. Or perhaps you've been sent a card in the past and you've been hanging on to it. What a great way to get that card back out that you love so much. Give it a little more attention. Give it new life. So if you have a corner rounder and you have a round picture, all you have to do is clamp it and kind of snap the edges. I don't have a corner rounder anymore. I did back in my scrapbook days, but I donated most of that stuff. So I don't have one. So I'm just going to go with it, just looking at it, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to offset it with the blue in the background, and look at the difference. I love it. Now, of course, I'm going to be cutting off all of these. They're kind of leggy, I guess you could say, and I need these to be in shorter, more manageable pieces to use in a wreath. And actually, I left these a bit too long. I do cut these in half, each one of these. So what if you have a flower that's kind of crumpled? Well, you can add a little heat to it, turn it upside down, and essentially steam or iron it out. Don't get it too close to your greenery because, some things are plastic and they'll melt. But look at that. We woke that flower right back up. Now, I started off cutting these because I thought they needed to be cut, but I was reminded in my head that most of these are put together by just wrapping that brown papery looking stuff over them, and you can just simply pull them out. Do what you need to do to get yours apart. Now, I am not going to have this right in the center. I want it off to the side, so I'm just going to put my little pipe cleaners on one side. I'm using green because it's going to blend in a little better with the greenery on the wreath. And I'll just cut one in half, and we'll make some little hanger pieces to attach the paper down to the wreath. If you want to attach yours straight down on your wreath, you can certainly do that. Feel free to make it your own. That's what this channel's all about. But in my experience, putting hot glue on something thin and plastic, like the greenery that happens to be on this wreath, it's not silk, it's like a plastic sort of situation. It'll just melt that and it'll come off anyway. So doing it this way, I can attach down to the wreath form that is underneath the brown part, and it'll stay right where it needs to be. Now that this is dry, I want to put these pieces together. See how you can still see the wood grain underneath, but it kind of has that shimmer in the light. Really pretty. And I like the idea of stacking these one on top of the other, almost graduated. And so I'm just going to use jute because it blends in. It doesn't, get a lot of attention, and I want the attention to be on the word. So I'm just going to tie this in 2 knots where I connect each piece and then cut off that little section right there that we don't need. All right, so we've got the next one ready. We're going to keep going along here. And I just showed you a moment ago how you can fix the end if your string or whatever you're using starts to fray. A little hot glue, you can fix that. All right, so to hang it off of the wreath, because again, we're not hot gluing, we're going to hang it. I just chose to use another piece of this jute to just tie off both ends. And then that's what we'll use to attach it to the wreath. And then since we put double knots in between each one, I'm going to continue with that same look by just putting a double knot here. And now I think that is precious. We're just going to set it aside, and we can put down our sweet little Cupid. Or angel, however you want to look at it, but it's a Cupid to me. sending love. See how he's sitting on those little hearts? Oh, it's so cute. He's precious. Now I'm going to attach it to the wreath form underneath, which is that brown part, the original circle before the greenery. And I'm not going to pull it too tight because it'll sink down in and squish our greenery, and I don't want that to happen. So now I'm going to find placement, and it almost looks like the little Cupid's looking down at the love sign, right? I think that is adorable. So I'm just going to go behind him. Same thing, I'm going to kind of attach it, try to get it attached to a solid piece down there. And I'll just tie it in a double knot. Same thing over here. And I'm not too concerned. You're going to make a gap sometimes in your greenery when you're tying it on, but you can always refluff it. That's such a simple thing. Y'all, I encourage you not to give up on your work when you get started and you hit a bump. I mean, there are happy accidents, and you just go with it. You just go with it. I've got another boo-boo in here that you're going to see close to the end of the video, and I'm going to show you how I rolled with it. I didn't even cut it out. Just rolled with it. All right, now to keep everything locked in place, I just added a little dot of glue, and I still managed to knock it loose, so I'll fix it again later. Okay? Now, we always use clamps when we don't have enough fingers or hands to hold something, so we're going to keep going. I've torn these pieces apart, and since this wreath has that look of all the greenery going in one direction, I'm going to continue that same look with these little wispy pieces. And I chose these, one, because they're very pretty. It's the only pick I could find when they were on clearance at Joann. And it kind of reminds me of what's going on in the feathers on the back of the Cupid. So I thought it fit in very well with this project. You know, you don't have to use as much stuff as I do. I'm always going to just put a whole bunch in there. I like to show you step by step, and then, you know, just tell you too that you can stop at any point that you want to stop on your projects. Just because I do a lot and have a lot going on, that's just my preference. But I encourage you to do as much or as little as you like. These videos are for inspiration, and I just want to show you what you can do, right? Always make it your own. Okay, so now I'm going to take these peach colored roses, and I'm going to turn the greenery to make sure that for the most part we're looking at the front of the greenery and not the plastic backing. Sometimes there's really not much you can do short of just gluing it down, but I'm just going to kind of go with it and move as much forward and toward the front as I can, because I like that dark green color and I like the print. These are just very well done. So I want the best part of them to be forward, right? Just like when we're dressing ourselves and we're getting ready to go out and do something, we want to put our best foot forward. So that's what I'm doing here, of course, on my crafts. Now, I love these all together. They almost look like a bunch of roses. Rather than cutting them apart and separating them, we're going to leave them all together. That's a little bouquet, right? Then I'm going to take these pieces, and I'm just going to place them here and there. And then they're so big, there's enough underneath for me to take those pieces that are underneath and pluck them off and use them in another place. And you'll see me do that shortly. I'm going to add these beautiful blue flowers. And then I've got some more blue over there that I grabbed up that's really small that I found later. And we're going to add those in there shortly. I went ahead and added the greenery that we had from the blue flowers in there as well. And you can move things around. See, these are not glued down, so that makes it convenient. It gives it a little more options for you. See? A little more option. And by the way, if you're wondering why the longer pieces why you see me just poking them in there, they're going into the wreath form that is underneath. So for the new folks and the new crafters, they're going into the wreath form under there. You can actually fit the wires down in there. So that's where they're going. And then for the pieces that are on plastic or look like they are shorter and can't be fed through there, I'll add a little hot glue and glue them in like the one I just did. Now I'm taking these little beautiful flyaway pieces of, we're going to call these wildflowers, and I'm going to just tuck them in here, there, continuing along with the beautiful blue that we already have going on in the project. And then underneath the edge, we're just going to carry this down and add some more of these little blue pieces here in front of the love and at the corner of the print, and leaving enough space in the middle that I can build up some of those yellow pieces. and I can just add as many or as few as I want to over here until I get the look that I like. Now that's much better. I like that. Now I'm just going to kind of weave them in and out. I'm going to kind of glue some things in place because for whatever reason, the glue did not play well with the paint that I used. So, you know, it would have worked with chalk paint. Now let's move on to the bow. I decided to use the sheer. So I've got the sheer bow, or the ribbon, and I've got it's over 2 feet of ribbon for sure. And I'm just going to make a very simple bow in my hand. You can see how I did that. You can go back and rewind and slow it down if you would like to. Then I'm going to tie it off with a little bit of jute because the jute is what I have available. So that's what I'm going to use. And then I'm going to take another piece that is about 4 inches longer than that one. I'm going to make the exact same bow, only it's going to be a little bit bigger. This ribbon holds a bow beautifully. It is wired. You're going to want to use wired for this. Then I'm just going to pull it down. And of course we need to finish our ends. We don't want any raggedy frayed ends. So I'm just cutting them in a slant. You can do a dovetail or, you know, whatever you like here. I'm going to take another piece I think I took what was left on the spool, I do believe. And I'm just going to fold it in half. So this looks like about 18, maybe 24 inches. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to fold it over, and then we're going to use this strip to go right in the middle. It's going to cover the jute, and it is going to firmly attach it to the brown part of the wreath underneath. So I'm just tucking it in there, pushing it through with my fingers. And once I get it back there, I'll pull it up, and then I'll tie it in a double knot. And then you can cut off any excess you might have in the back, or you can just leave it there. I'm going to fluff the bow because, you know, you got to fluff those bows. And then try to give a little personality to the ribbon. You can decide, do you want it to flip up? Do you want it to flip down? Do you want to just have it swag down, or do you want to make a curl in it? There's so many options with bows. But, you know, do it your way and the way that you like it. And this is the final result, which you will get a better look at the very end of the video. Poinsettia swag is next. All right, we're going to use some pipe cleaners. I got this little metal sign from TEMU. I will try to link it for you below if you'd like. Here is the measurement on that to give you an idea, and it is just plain on the back, so you could use that side if you wanted to for something else. I'll use some 1.5 inch wired fabric ribbon. I got this at the thrift store, and I love it. It's got holly on it. 2 little floral picks of your choice. And then you're going to need a swag. Now you can make your own. Mine is 36 inches long, just to give you an idea. But if you want to make your own out of Dollar Tree Christmas trees, I've done videos on that, on how you can make a swag. It's a little smaller, but you can build them up. Now mine has been in a box and it looks terrible. It's all bunched up from my move. I'm going to pull these branches apart. Really quick, I just want to say thank you for being here, for all those people who leave me nice comments below. It's so nice of you to take your time and to do that, to watch my videos and then to give me a comment that's supportive. It means a lot to me. So I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. So once our swag is fixed on the back and on the front, we got all those branches pulled out because we don't have curly branches on a pine tree generally. So I'll pull them all out flat. I'll find the placement for my 2 floral picks. This is so easy. I want to be sure that the center, as I showed just a moment ago, is where we're going to put our sign, that we want our flowers and to not obstruct. So we have plenty of room for that little sign. I'll take 1 pipe cleaner, and I just chose this brown because it matches a little bit better to the sign, so it's not as obvious. I mean, you obviously wouldn't want to use like a bright green or bright purple on this if it doesn't match the rest of it. We want it to blend in, right? If you want to use jute, you certainly can, but I like the wire because you can feed that down through the branches a lot easier. I'll set that aside, and then we're going to work on putting the floral pick down in here. So through the center of the swag is 1 long piece or stem. That's what we want to use to attach everything down to. So making that like a hairpin and then pushing it through around the stem and twisting it in the back and cutting off your excess is going to hold your flowers in place. I'm going to use one on each on the stem at the bottom, like you see me doing now. And then I'll dig through there and find a piece a little bit higher and do the same process. I'll bend it like so, push it through, and then twist it on the back and then cut your excess off. Easy enough to do, right? Twist, 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 twist. Really quickly while I'm doing this, I want to say thank you again to those of you who have given me super thanks and for those of you who have bought me coffee. Those things are gifts to me. I just want you to know that. They're gifts to me. They're an additional part of my income and they help me and my family. And if you don't know, I am a divorced mother and I have 2 children at home and 2 grown-up kids and 2 grandsons. So, yeah, this is what I do full-time for a living. And all those things that you do really mean a lot to me. They don't go unseen. So thank you for that. Now, everything's attached down firmly. We're going to fluff out our flower. I'm going to fluff these leaves out because these beautiful leaves are actually wired. Isn't that perfect? I don't remember where I got these picks from. Very likely, I know they didn't come from Dollar Tree, for sure, because quality is fantastic. It's very, very likely that I got these while I was out thrifting. And I probably have used these over and over again for many, many years. I encourage you to go and get the things that you have that are in your stash, that are on another project, that maybe is not your style this year. Break that stuff down, tear it apart, and use it. We're watching our pennies here. We're watching our nickels. It matters now. It really matters. And it's getting close to the end of the year and it's holiday season. And if we want to have any little extra change to do something special for other people, then we need to be conscious of how we spend our money, right? Cautious. I can't say the word. Okay, just a little chit chat there. Now we're going to attach that down. Same process. Twist it down onto the little swag underneath. I'm very chatty today, and I only had 1 cup of coffee at 5:30. I don't know. So here's some holly. I'm recycling this. This came from my deer basket project that I did. Broke that down, and we're going to use that again. I like the holly because the children are holding holly, and there's holly in the picture. So I thought it would be nice to bring that back in there. And I'm going to add it here and there where I feel like it looks needed. Brings a little bit of brightness also to that darkness, which I think is very pretty. I chose the very deep colored poinsettias because they just looked more Victorian to me. And they are like a velvet type or flocked type fabric. Yeah, I think they're pretty. Have a little bit of glitter in the center, but nothing overboard. I'll tuck those here and there, and putting them on the end like this helps me extend it out a little bit, extend that greenery. You see there's like a little blank, it looks like a blank space. Extend that out with a little bit of greenery. And then of course we're going to be adding a little bit of ribbon, but not bows. So y'all don't leave me now. I know some of you say, I don't like bows. Bows are not my thing. Don't worry. I'm going to show you something different you can use. So I'm just using some scraps of ribbon I have here that I had already cut and Really? I really can't talk. So I am using scraps of ribbon that I have already cut off, and they're about 12 inches long. I'm going to make a little 1 loop in the middle and twist it and have 2 tails. So it's 1 loop and 2 tails. I think that the girl from My DIYs is where I saw this the first time, and I've done it several times in my project. So just to give her credit for that, I'm not going to run off with her idea. I think it's a great way to add a little bit of something without adding a bow. So now we can add a little bit of pattern into our project. I'm just going to tie that and cut off the excess jute. We're not going to see that jute, so it won't matter. And then we're going to dovetail those ends. And you can see they're kind of straight. And if you want to leave yours straight, you can, but dovetailing is very easy and it gives a pretty little flyaway look in my opinion. You want to cut from the wired edge upward toward the center fold. And that's how you get the dovetail. I know a lot of you who follow me already know this process, but let's keep in mind, ladies and gents, that there are people here who have never been to my channel before and perhaps never even crafted before. So I want to be sure I give you all the info. Now you can fill in blank spots, little empty areas. You can just put them here or there. And I'm not going to put these in a symmetrical fashion. I'm just, again, just random here and there until I get the look that I like, until I am happy with it. All right, so double knots because I don't want this to come undone. Cut off the excess. Don't worry, I won't make you watch me do all of them. I'm going to fold it over. Grab my scissors. I'm holding the wired side in my fingers. And then I'm cutting from the wire to the folded section upward. And that gives us those pretty little tails. And then you put your fingers inside the loop and open up that little loop. And then there we have another one. You can do as many of these as you like. I'm going to do 3 that are about the same size, and then I'll do a couple more that are a couple inches smaller. And you can press that down on those branches straight into that evergreen. You don't have to even tie that on there. If you wanted to leave your jute on there and tie it, yeah, I guess you could, but I think we have to worry about hanging this anywhere and the heat bothering it necessarily in the winter time. So I think your glue should hold fine and your jute should hold fine. So these are the ones that are a little bit smaller, and I'll do the same exact process with these. I wanted to also mention that there are a couple of ladies who have recently been sick and had surgery and are recovering now. I want to send my love to you guys. I've had some people ask me about a mailbox because they want to send me some craft supplies. I want to share some of their supplies, which is super nice. I do not have a P.O. box yet, but when I do, it's going to be linked in the description box below, okay? I really appreciate the thought and your generosity. Again, in this time, we won't go into detail because we don't talk politics and religion on this channel, do we? We do not. This is what it's going to look like. And then one more little pick of holly. This came off a different branch, actually. And I'm going to put that right at the top just because I felt like I wanted to. You know how it is sometimes when you're crafting. And this is what the swag is going to look like. You can take one of the branches on the back, make a loop, twist it around on itself to make a hanger if you would like. Or you could tie any type of a hanger that you prefer on the back of your swag so that you can hang it. My overhead light is kind of dimming the picture here, but I think you'll see it a little bit better when I show you this end screen. Love it. Look at the fallout. Oh my goodness, y'all. I wouldn't leave it in this spot, but this is just where I am filming my end screens right now. Aren't those babies the cutest things? And I love the holly in the picture and then what is throughout the swag. I think it is so cute. And I hope that this is something that you enjoy and might consider doing for your own home.